Welcome back to Between the Horns, the official podcast of Texas Athletics. Today we're joined by, honestly, someone that doesn't need an intro, the glue guy himself. Brock, thank you so much for taking
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. I know starting off, we just had our exhibition game last night, kind of like teeing up, starting off the season. How did the game go?
It was a little bit closer than we wanted it to be through the first half, stretched out in the second. I think some first game jitters in front of the crowd being in the Moody Center, but gave us a lot of hope, a lot to learn from last night.
So I know that this is year 6 for you going in. What is your personal motto for this season?
Personal motto, just to win. I think this team's extremely capable, and how last season ended, we were knocking on the door. We want to get through that, get to the Final Four. So that's really been our main motivation, is going further than we did last year.
And take me in through some of those summer workouts that have gotten you guys here.
Oh, there's been a lot. We brought in Corey Schlesinger from the Suns, who's been amazing, and our player development has been unbelievable, top-notch. But we usually, in the summer, I believe we lifted first, then we practiced, then we had class, then we came back and shot afterwards. So some full days throughout the summer.
Absolutely.
Personally for you, what did you kind of work on this offseason? What was on top of your mind in trying to get better?
Working on my shot. I've made jumps the last couple of years with my percentages, but now I'm going to try and keep those same percentages with increased volume, and then also just playmaking and different shots I haven't taken in the past.
And, with this being year 6 for you, how has your role on the team evolved? As you come in as a freshman, you're new, you're green, for lack of a better term. What are you now?
Just 9-day difference from when I got here. When I came in, I was cocky. I thought I was the best freshman to ever touch a basketball. I redshirted, so clearly I wasn't. And then just over the years and everything that I've been through, just harnessing this knowledge to help out our younger guys. That's the main thing. We've got really good young guys that have bright future. I'm just trying to pass along my knowledge so they can do what they want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. And speaking of the younger guys, this offseason, a lot of the new transfers and I guess some freshmen even coming in. What has that mentorship role kind of been like for you, and what do you ultimately tell them? Like when you're telling them you're coming to Texas, when you're telling a recruit, an athlete, what do most athletes need to know?
It's always tailored to the individual, but Max Asmus, new point guard from Oral Roberts, is a great example. It came down to us in K-State, and I was speaking to him about the possibilities and opportunities that Texas has when you're done playing. That's the main thing. Austin's such a big town. There's so much going on. If you like tech, if you like this, you like that, you can find it in Austin. That's rare for a college town.
So the LeBron of college, we're making the calls. We're trying to recruit. Hey, it takes the whole team, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And, I think your experience here at Texas is really unique because with you've played under 3 different coaching staffs. So you're playing for Coach Terry right now. What makes Coach Terry stand out?
Coach Terry is awesome because he really cares about the players. A lot of coaches, when you're done playing, you're sidestep. They don't really care about you. If they see you, it's great. But RT really keeps up with his former players. You see that with the players that came in when he used to be an assistant coach, and he's just adored by those guys, and that really goes to show who he is as a coach.
For sure. And, thinking about the different coaches you've been in, this is the 3rd coach, I think looking back kind of on yourself, when you think about, hey, the situations that kind of happened the last, 2 coaching changes, did you ever think or consider to leave the University of Texas?
No. When I was coming out of high school, Shaka was the coach at the time, and when I committed, I didn't choose Coach Smart. I chose the university, and that was the best decision I ever made. And so through him leaving, Beard leaving, and RT coming in, I wanted to be at the University of Texas, and it was an easy decision to stay.
And how do you, quick follow-up on that, as a player, how do you, make for new coaching change, make your value known, like, instantly? Kind of how do you kind of separate yourself ahead? And,
Playing hard, but it's tough sometimes with new coach. You're trying to assert yourself, and you had already done that with the previous coach. So there's some growing, and you have to earn that trust back with the new coach. But my play style is unique with how hard I play and what I bring to the game.
Could you ever see yourself diving into coaching in the future?
No. No, I'm good. Especially not college with NIL. Mm-hmm. Maybe professional sports, but the NIL is a little bit much for me.
Why do you say that?
It's kind of changed the dynamic. A lot of guys are looking for money first instead of the university and a good fit. And I've been blessed to see pre-NIL and NIL, so I understand what that looks like. And as a coach, I would get frustrated because you're at, example, University of Texas. Why would you not want to be at the University of Texas? So I'm gonna leave coaching alone.
And Brock, I think one thing I've personally just been impressed by is your entrepreneurial nature. Kind of when NIL started, I remember your own line of hats and you're always really entrepreneurial. So what has it been like to kind of balance your time with the NIL stuff? And I guess even thinking about the other student athletes that kind of have to balance. What does it look like for you?
Yeah, it's exactly what you say. You can get caught up in one thing and then another part of your life takes a hit. But it's really just about staying organized, having a calendar, and spreading out your time effectively. Because we've got class, practice, and then everything else we want to do on top of a social life. So it can get hectic, but staying organized is the main thing. Try not to miss anything.
Has it always been easy for you to stay organized? Was freshman year Brock on top of his stuff like this?
No, freshman year Brock was not organized. Part of why he redshirted, but being at the University of Texas, 3 coaches, a lot of knowledge to give me, so that's helped me. And just being here for as long as I have, I've been able to put together a nice system for me.
Take me through your evolution of as a person since you've been here.
Great question. Came in as a freshman, thinking I was going to tear it up, be in college for 2 years and then make my way to the NBA. I didn't. I redshirted, didn't play much my second year. Got in at the end of the year. We went on a nice little winning stretch. COVID. Next year, we're really good. That's COVID season. Get up to number 3 in the country, I believe. Win the Big 12 tournament. Lose the first round to Abilene Christian. Brutal loss. Shaka steps away. Beard comes in. That first year was a grind. Won our first NCAA tournament game, I think, like 12 years. Got bounced by Purdue last year. Big 12 tournament. Elite 8. And now we're here.
Now we're here.
Who would have thought?
What's next here?
What's next here? Final 4 run. 30 wins is what I'm thinking. If we win 30 wins, we'll be playing for big games late in March, and that's the plan.
Yes, sir.
For sure, yeah. And going back to that freshman year moment, what was I think we asked this to other student athletes too, but what was your welcome to Texas moment?
There's always a laugh, a nervous laugh.
It's always PTSD.
They start getting a little red.
My freshman year, I was a little bit heavier. I was 225.
Oh, wow.
I'm 205 now. So I got put with the older guys, with the juniors and seniors, and when we were lifting, and we're doing a push-up, body weight lift. And we probably had 10 sets, and at round like 4 or 5, my arms just couldn't go. And it took me a good hour and a half to finish the workout, and everyone else had finished. But it was just that welcome to college. These are men. You're still a kid, and I was just figuring it out.
What's been your hardest workout here at Texas thus far?
So we went to, this was under Beard, we went to Zilker, and we did conditioning type of workout. We started with a mile, and then we did the rower for 5,000 meters, and then we got on the wind bike. And I believe 12 guys worked out, and 8 threw up. And this was late summer. It's not like it's our first workout.
Wow.
Guys were in shape, and we were falling out.
And Austin Summers,
All right, exactly.
It helped that it was like 6:30 in the morning, but it was still a little humid down by the lake.
Yeah. For sure. What have been some other, I guess, memorable workouts?
Memorable ones, Shaka, actually, we would practice for half an hour, and then we would stop, and they would stop the clock, so you could still practice for that hour that day, and we would go out by the Irwin Center, put sandbags on our backs, and run a mile in the heat in June, July, and August, and then go back and finish the 30-minute practice after already lifting that morning.
So when you look back on those tough workouts, do you think that those workouts were more about breaking you guys down mentally or breaking you guys down physically?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
The answer is yes.
Yeah, absolutely, because the coaches want to see where your guys are at, and they also want to see if you have any guys that'll fold under pressure. But it's absolutely a test. They're looking at all aspects of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And for you now, kind of looking at the college landscape in basketball, what do you think separates the best collegiate basketball players?
If I knew, maybe I'd be a little bit better. No, I'm kidding. I mean, just dedication. You have to love the game. All the great players love being in the gym, and I'm one of those guys that love it. And just having appreciation and the closest with your teammates. The best college teams and the best college players are the most connected.
All right, Brock. enough about basketball. I want to take a dive into you as a person. You're pretty interesting, man.
Thank
So
you.
I want to start off with these summer road trips.
Uh-huh.
Where did the idea come from?
So the idea, I think it was spurred off TikTok during COVID. Everyone was just kind of leaving, but really it was after the Abilene Christian game. It felt like the world had ended, and then Shaka stepped away. I was like, I don't have a coach. I
Right.
can do whatever I want. So I
Okay.
So I packed up my truck and I just started driving. Ended up driving, made it all the way up to Wyoming and then over to California, back down, all in 8 days. And when I was on the last leg in San Diego, Beard got the job and called me. And he's like, I would love to talk to you. I'm like, Coach, sorry, I'm on a beach in San Diego right now. I can't meet you in person, but I'll meet you tomorrow. And then I drove 23 hours to meet with him that next day.
Oh my
That was the
gosh.
first one. And then I had so much fun after every season now. And whenever I have a week off or something, I'll just go out and see what I can. There's never a plan. I just wake up in the morning and be like, Montana seems cool today. Let's go check
Montana
that.
seems cool today.
Let's go.
Over here in
Let's go
Austin.
check that out. But yeah, it's just a ton of fun. It's a nice little reset for me.
I can imagine, yeah.
That's awesome. So I'm actually graduating in December.
Big congrats.
So
There you go.
kind of 6 months.
Smart
and,
man.
Just trying. And one of my summer internships, I was at Nike, so I have a bunch of friends who are student athletes at universities around the country. So I was thinking something super cool would be to kind of do like a month-long road trip from kind of starting from the top of the East Coast and work my way all the way. What are some national parks and places that are must see?
Bonneville Salt Flats in Utah is unbeaten in my eyes. Lake Tahoe, unbelievable. White Sands, New Mexico. Bozeman, Montana. I mean, really, when you get like North New Mexico to Montana, you can find anything and everything. It is beautiful in that zone. And, the road trip calms your mind. I mean, it's amazing just being out on the road. You would love it.
So tell me, what is it like for you? Are you bringing teammates along? Are you going alone most of the time? Are you guys stopping at every Buc-ee's? Like, what does that look like for you?
So I did one after this season. I brought my buddy, he flew to Denver, I picked him up. But besides that, it was just solo. I would just be surviving for a week. And really, I would wake up in the mornings after camping, drive 8 hours that day, and then camp again. There's been
Camping, so no hotels, but camping.
No hotels. I've slept in my truck before. There was one night, Bonneville Salt Flats, 30-mile-per-hour gust just ripped my tent out of the ground. I thought someone was coming to get me,
my
and I was like, "Oh my god!" And then slept in my truck. Great Sand Dune National Park in Colorado, just because it'll get to 10 degrees. And my water is freezing. It's just like, I'm not doing this. I'm going to go in the truck for a little bit.
I'm going in the trunk, not a Marriott, but okay.
Yeah,
Whatever
exactly.
works
So,
for you then.
when I'm by myself, it's a little rough. When I had my buddy, it was a little bit smoother. But it's just nice adventures. There's been a few moments I almost drove off a cliff, almost down a snowbank. There's been some real what-if moments.
What's been the scariest what-if moment?
Me and my brother drove Imogene Pass, which is an off-road trail, goes up to about 13,500 feet, and it's a one-lane road, not paved, up into the mountains, but there's two-way traffic. So we're going up, and this big truck's coming down, and there's like a little sliver that I think I can get by with a huge drop on our
Oh my
right. If we went down, it's over. I'm like, I got that. Drive, and we are literally that close to falling off the edge, and again, this close to hitting the truck on the other side. And my brother is mute. He is so
Just
tense
silence.
during this. I'm like, oh yeah, it's good. We got it.
My
I
gosh.
look back on that, look at the video. I'm like, that was way too confident. I should have just
Way too close.
way too confident for that.
Oh man.
What I think of when I hear that is, there's those like truck driving simulators. on TikTok, and I always see them on the cliff, like they do this stuff. That must have been, watching that gives me anxiety. So driving, that must have been crazy. I think one thing, I guess personally for me, I've always found it just difficult to travel solo. I've never been like, I just want to just go and get out there and go. Has it always been easier for you to just go solo?
No, that first road trip was the first time I did it, and from there on out, it gave me a bunch of confidence to do anything solo. So whenever I'm somewhere, I'll break off for an hour, maybe a day, and just enjoy being alone and figuring stuff out, thinking. A lot of the times, there's no service out there, so I'm really just living. No cellular device, just old school, and it's great.
Yeah, and I guess can you walk me through your, I guess, like mental reset process? I think something I actually started doing in the pandemic, kind of to track my own kind of thoughts and just like listen to myself back. And I knew I would never journal. I was like, I'm gonna journal or I'd forget about it. So I started recording voice memos to myself, and during any types of like, highs or lows, and I guess some stuff in between, I'd record. And now I have like a collection of like 20, 25, starting from when I was senior in college or senior in high school. And the first one was March 7th, 2020. Wow. And I remember it was like, there's something called COVID, but I think like that's gonna go away. But like I'm not looking forward to AP tests. We just lost in playoffs, second round of the playoffs. So basketball was done for me for good. So that was like, I'm just like ready to go. And I was super sad I didn't get into at certain schools, and I was like, but I got into Texas. Like I think things will.
The
work
time
out.
capsule of it.
Yeah, now seeing the jumps from that. So what is your guys like mental reset process like during that?
During COVID or
I guess like during your trips when you're traveling.
I journal a lot, and then photography and videography has been big for me. So I'll carry a drone and a camera. That's been a great way to remember it. But journaling, similar to your voice memos, is incredibly powerful because it'll take you back to that exact moment, and you're like, oh my goodness, either a great moment, bad moment. Nonetheless, you remember it, and you're grateful that you wrote it down, because otherwise you would have forgot those vivid memories, and it's unbelievable powerful.
And I bet you, and I'm sure that a lot of the insights that you've come to on those trips are pretty personal, but what are some that you feel comfortable sharing?
That's a deep one right there. I'll have to go check out my journal to really figure it out. But just my connection to nature. Every time I get a break, I'm always outside, whether it's at the lake, Zilker, or whatnot. And on these trips, I just try and soak it all in somewhere that I'm happy and something that I'll always love. So I think that's the main thing, finding joy no matter where I am in life, just going outside.
Absolutely.
It's a fantastic mindset. And curious, where's the number one spot on your bucket list that you need to go in the world?
That's a great question.
Doesn't have to be in the States.
That's
Yeah.
a great question.
In the world, it would have to be Japan.
Interesting.
I just have to check that out. And then in the U.S., it would have to be Denali National Park in Alaska. I've heard that's next level.
Yeah. I actually had sophomore year of high school, we took an Alaskan cruise. Highly don't recommend that one.
Yeah,
You're gonna take a trip to Alaska. You're gonna be in Alaska. I was on the cruise ship, and there was the basketball court, and it was at like I would want to play it, but starting at night it'd be like freezing, so I'd be out there and like the thing. I'm like, I gotta practice today, and my parents like, what are you doing? Like, get back inside.
An Alaska cruise is tough.
Well, that sounds horrible.
That's
like,
cold
that doesn't
right
sound
there.
fun.
Did y'all get to go like into the mountains at all, or?
Yeah, we stopped at the glacier, and we got to like go around there, but it was kind of like 6-7 hours, and they were like, you can get like a helicopter ride, and we'll take you to the top of the mountain. You can do like sledding with huskies, and it was like $500 add-on, and then I was like, oh, okay, yeah, it makes sense. But I mean, yeah, I think something super powerful is content, documenting kind of your thoughts, your voices, experiences. And for you, I know you started a podcast yourself. Yep. Congratulations. Yep. So first, just starting a podcast, where did the first idea come from, and kind of how has it just been?
The first idea actually started out my 4th year. I bought all the gear similar to what y'all have, and we set it up in our apartment. And we had guys coming in and out of the room, getting on the mic for like 4 hours, I want to say.
Wow.
Exactly. It was just a constant cycle of guys coming, and it was so much fun. It's part of why Dylan Mitchell actually committed. He was there watching the entire process and loved it.
Interesting.
And it was just so much fun hearing about guys' different perspectives, because when you really do a deep dive, some things open up and you get to know your buddies a little bit better. And that was really the genesis of it. And then I want to say a year and a half, I'd been thinking about ideas and whatnot, got with the right people, and they helped launch it. BrockTalk With Wheels, coming soon. But it's going to be good. It's been a lot of fun, similar to y'all. I know y'all are having a good time doing this.
Who's been your favorite guest that you've interviewed thus far?
Dylan DeSue was really good. Timmy Allen. We had Scott Eastwood on not too long ago, and then we've also had a buddy of mine who's a designer and whatnot. He gave great perspective on what he does. All of them has been fun, because you learn so much about these people and what they do and why they're so good at what they do.
Gotcha. And this is, when I started my own podcast this past January, I remember the first thing I did was write down like the top top 5 guests of like of all time, right? Whoever it is. So for you, basketball or otherwise, who's your, I guess, top 3 guests you like to have?
Well, we'd have to start with McConaughey. Yeah, that's the top one. CDC, and he's been on this one,
been
right?
on this
All
one.
right.
Has been on this
Okay. Okay. So he is available for podcasts. Okay.
Maybe.
And then Sarah Bumgardner, assistant athletic director here. She's amazing and elite at her job. She'll be a big time athletic director soon. But just getting her perspective would be awesome. So I would have to say those would be my top 3.
Yeah, gotcha. Has any part of the process kind of, surprised you? Or, I mean, from this, clearly talking comes naturally. So I guess, like, even throughout your life, has communicating, articulating, just voicing your opinions and being expressive, is that always just going to be easy?
Absolutely not. Believe it or not, I was mute until I was 4. So
Wow.
yeah, they thought I was a little unique or special. But wasn't talking about until I was 4. Couldn't really have a conversation with me until I was 5. Was in speech therapy and whatnot. And it wasn't really until middle school, I'd say, I started to get a little bit more confident, being able to voice my opinions, and it's just grown as I've gotten older. I'm in my mid-30s now, putting it together.
Oh, speaking of that, real quick, I'm sure you obviously see all the memes.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Stuff,
It's
right?
hilarious.
So, what's been your favorite meme?
Oh, there's always good ones that are creative. Nothing comes out, but it's always the 8th, 9th year senior.
Oh my gosh.
He's starting a mortgage or whatnot. He's on his 2nd career. I mean, there's a bunch of stuff, and fans from everywhere will tweet at me. It's funny.
Yeah.
It's all in good fun. You don't take it too deeply.
No, because it's true. This my. How could I be like, I'm not old. I'm gonna be 25 this season. I'm old.
Would that officially make you the oldest player in college basketball?
No. I looked it up before the season. Thankfully, I will not be the oldest college player.
He's not the oldest player.
We got it dialed up. If anyone says not, he's got those seats. I got those seats. Awesome.
Well, Brock, with you being so old, I mean, what is the advice that you would give to your 15-year-old self?
Ooh.
And I was joking when I said you being so old. That was a complete joke.
He was like, no, really, let me say it.
To 15-year-old Brock, so what, I would have been a freshman. Enjoy it. I when I was younger, I had a tendency to be so angry and caught up. Like, it has to happen now. I want to force it instead of just enjoying the process, enjoying the fun of it, and just having more fun in the moment instead of worrying about things I can't control.
Everyone says enjoy the process, trust the process. What does that actually look like? Mm-hmm. Because when you're in the process, it feels like, for lack of a better term, heck, I'm not going to say the other word, but how do you enjoy it?
Well, you got to understand that you're working for something bigger. To enjoy the process, you're working for a goal. And in my case, it's been a national championship or just winning games, winning the next game and the next game. And that's been able to compartmentalize a little bit and just move from goal to goal to goal. But just loving the game, loving what you do is the main thing.
Brock, I know you're a graduate of the University of Texas. Congratulations. I know you're currently pursuing your master's degree as well. So I guess in terms of just like thinking about, you're positioning yourself and kind of the experiences and coursework you've kind of done at school. Ultimately, what are you trying to do for the next, after graduation, and kind of what your future is?
After graduation, I'll go play professionally overseas for a year or 2. And then I'll come back and get into real estate in some form or fashion. As you said, undergrad in advertising, getting my master's in advertising, a lot of personal skills that I've learned along the way, but I don't know if I'll actually get into the field of advertising.
Interesting. And why specifically real estate?
It's believe it or not, a lot of former athletes get into that field, and I've had some companies and some mentors around town that have really helped me look at it through the right lens and what it could be, and it's something that I see myself doing.
Yeah, there's no better city to
get into real estate.
It's one of the good ones, that's for sure.
And I think one of the underspoken about benefits of going to a school like the University of Texas and being an athlete at the school at the University of Texas is the network that you built while you're here. Can you talk a bit about the network that you've been able to build?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and exactly what you said, University of Texas, similar to Max A. Smith I spoke on earlier, it's the connections that you make here that really make this experience special. and I've been able to do that, a lot in part for how long I've been here. A lot of people, they get through their 4 years, they're starting to get to know people, and then they're done. My 5th and 6th year, it's been a real goal of mine to make real relationships that go beyond the court and people that will help me when I'm done playing. It's been an unbelievable experience. Got to know some great people.
And for underclassmen, student athletes across the country, how do you go about building real relationships?
You have to be invested in them. You have to know what's going on in their life. You have to reach out. You have to go get dinner, go get lunch. And, a lot of these donors that are around the program, they want to know their players. They want to know who you are. And it goes both ways. If you put time in, they'll care about what you're doing and what you want to do after life, and they'll help you out after basketball, not after life.
Oh my God.
Whoa.
But can you talk about what it's like to make that step? And I think when we're young, as freshmen, sophomores, or whatever it may be, you're often afraid to reach out. You're afraid to ask for that lunch or for that dinner. What does making that first small step look like?
It's having grasped that basketball won't last forever. We all like to think that we're going to play in the NBA, NFL,
Right.
MLB, whatnot, but the facts of life is most of us, that's not going to
Right.
happen. So just being able to be prepared for a life after your sport ends, and knowing that you have different aspirations and we're not just athletes, and eventually we'll all be business people at one point.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And that's a super and forget my wording here, but I can't think of a better word, but mature take on kind of like life and perspective. I remember the first time I figured out I wouldn't be playing college basketball at any levels, 8th grade at an AAU tournament, and I'm tying my shoes. We're about to tip off, tying my shoes. I look up, there's an 8th grader.
It's the 8th grader.
He has a full arm sleeve and a beard.
Oh, yeah.
And he's 6'3". Tip starts off. Of course, the center's 6'8". Tips it to him. I'm pedaling back on defense. I'm trying to stop him. He tosses it, and before I know it, I'm looking up. I'm under the basket, and this guy behind me just boom. And I remember getting off the ground, on the ground. I remember looking up. I see my dad in the stands. That's what I was like, no. I can't do it. That was 8th grade for me, and honestly, from that point, obviously, it's been easier. I've had a lot of stuff going. But for you, you've dedicated, hours and hours. And so for that, process of, understanding, hey, I'm not going to play, in the NBA. And kind of overcoming that and going through it and figuring out, hey, what's my next purpose in life? What was that process like for you?
It was a tough one because you have these high hopes and aspirations, and it might still happen. That door is still very much open. I'm working towards that, but I'm preparing for a life where that doesn't happen. And when it starts to creep in your mind, you're like, no, it's NBA or nothing. But you get a little bit older, you see how it works for your buddies I've had teammates that are much better players than I am, and it hasn't worked out for them. So just having the awareness to understand life and what it takes.
Who are some of your mentors?
I've got a bunch. I don't know any. A few of my mentors. A lot of them I've met at the University of Texas, not to throw some names out there, but they've been unbelievable to me, building relationships and kind of helping me out and changing my mindset. I've probably got 3 that I would go to war for, and they would do the same for me.
Absolutely.
Who are some current and former teammates that their mindset, mentality, maybe just not even basketball, but just on life, that you kind of take after, you admire?
Jace Febris. I don't know if y'all remember him.
Yes.
Yeah. Shooter number 13, one of my closest friends. And he's probably one of the most influential people I've been around in college. He really changed my perspective about life and just how I think about it. And to this day, we still talk all the time. And he's been just a great influence on me and my mindset ever since I got to the University of Texas.
And what were some of those mind shift changes?
Just in openness to life and its experiences. When I was a freshman, you don't know what you don't know. It's hard to think outside of what you've been around. And he opened my eyes to a lot of things in this world, and I'm forever grateful for him.
How do you try and do the same for the younger athletes on your team right now?
Just by helping them out any way I can, giving them advice that I wish I had. I made some mistakes my freshman year that went into why I was redshirting, and I see that, and I've seen other guys make different mistakes over my time here, and just helping them out, pointing them in the direction of where the NBA guys have gone and what they did to get there is my main thing, because we've got really talented young guys that can play in the NBA. It's just about putting good days on top of good days.
What are some of those things that those NBA guys did?
They love the game. You know, there's a common theme going on right now. They took care of their business on the court and off. You know, it's hard to be a really, really, really good player when the rest of your life is scattered. So if you have that organization everywhere, it's going to transfer over to the court. That's one thing a lot of young guys don't understand. They think it's all hoops and nothing else matters, but it's all connected.
For sure. And thinking about that, the organization, I think it ultimately always comes down back to like your support system. And I know the University of you didn't pick the University of Texas. The University of Texas chose you, right? Your dad played football at the University of Texas, and so can you talk about like early memories growing up? Maybe just going to games. What stood out? Like, what was there the instant connection, love? For the University
Absolutely. You know, going to the games as a kid was always something, but I actually went to school over by the Fiji House.
Really?
So, yeah, Kirby Hall School. I went to.
That's interesting.
Yeah, exactly. So I've always been around the University of Texas, and you know, I remember getting out of school and driving by and seeing all these University of Texas students come out of class, going to the Fiji House, having fun. I'm like, those kids get it. Those kids are living. I'm going to be one of them one day. And sure enough, ended up at the University of Texas. But it's always been a love for the game, you know, watching teams win when I was younger, basketball, football, baseball. It was always a huge part of my life.
Who were some of the familiar faces that you saw back then, like looking back?
Justin Mason, DJ Augustine, AJ Abrams.
All the greats.
I mean, all the greats growing up, you know. Playing at Texas, I've got to know those guys and work out with them a few times. And it's been, you know, a dream come true for you to tell 8-year-old Brock that I got to work out with DJ Augustine. He would have been over the moon. I still was. I was ecstatic just to hang out with him.
Definitely. And, I think what was your favorite game? Your favorite game at Texas ever?
That I've played?
That you've watched. And we could also do
We
playing.
can go both, yeah.
That I've watched. Sugar Bowl has to be up there. Yeah, I would have to go with the Sugar Bowl with Sam, and then game that I've played in. You know, of course, the Elite Eight game is up there. But personally, for my like coming through moment, it would have to be at Texas Tech. My sophomore year, I'd just broken the rotation. I was playing well. We went into a hostile environment, a must-win game, and I ended up playing well, and we got the win. It was just something that I'll never forget. It was a breath of fresh air in my life.
Looking back on your time here at Texas, what is the one memory that stands out to you?
That's a great question. That is a great question. Still a lot of memories to be made, but I would have to say, I mean, it's that Texas Tech game. That, you know, in my athletic career, that is tip of the mountain for me. It was just everything coming together, all the work. You know, I'd almost lost faith in it that year just because I hadn't been playing for that second year. But it's just that game meant so much to me.
Being at the University of Texas, you know, there's pressure, right? I guess like starting from, you know, within, there's, you know, high standards, you know, to really perform. And then when you go outside the University of Texas, everyone wants to be Texas. So for you, how's it been, you know, handling pressure? And do you have any tips for student athletes?
I don't know if I've got any tips. You know, that's part of coming to the University of Texas. You know what you're getting into. It's championships or nothing, and that's what the fans demand. You wouldn't want to play somewhere where that's not the case. But if you put in the work and the time and you're confident, then there is no pressure. You know you're going to hit that shot. You know you're going to make that play. And then handling the criticism, you know, is easy. Just turn off your phone. Right? Like rarely is someone coming up to you and be like, "You suck."
Very
like
true.
It's happened. Don't get it twisted. It's happened. But for the most part, it's social media based, and you just turn your phone off.
You know,
Tricky stuff.
but it's not
Tricky
that,
stuff.
it's not that easy for everyone to just turn the phone off. It's not that easy.
I've heard that. Yeah.
He's heard that. He doesn't believe that.
I mean,
I'm curious. What is your screen time?
what's my screen time? It's higher than I'd like to. I don't know the exact number, but it's it's never like, if you were to go, every time I tweet something, I've got Texas Tech fans be like, he's old, he's awful, he can't make a layup. And it's just, I look at it, I laugh like, oh, that was kind of a good joke. And then keep on moving. Big games, of course, will be a lot more heat, but just being able to look at it and understand that someone's taking time out of their day to throw shade at me, it's just like, they've got their own problems. I don't need to worry about their words.
You know what, Brock, this has been an incredible conversation, but at some point we do have to wrap things up. And while wrapping things up, my final question for you is, what makes Texas elite?
Good question. Great question. It's the culmination of everything that makes it elite. You've got unbelievable academics. We compete at the highest level athletically, and then the student life is unbeaten. We're in Austin. There's everything to do. So I would say that's kind of the holy trinity of what makes the University of Texas so special and unique compared to other universities.
Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Between the Horns. If you aren't subscribed already, what are you doing? It's free. Be sure to like, comment, share the episode. Brock, thank you so much for joining us today. This was an incredible conversation.
Thanks for having me.
Anytime.
Gotta